Why do we keep watching morning routine videos over and over again? Why are we captivated by people sipping warm lemon water, journaling in the soft morning light, or laying out their gym clothes before sunrise? The answer might surprise you. It's not just about the aesthetics. It's not just about being productive. We're not addicted to their alarms or their protein shakes. We're drawn in because deep down, we're starving for transformation. This video isn't just about why morning routines rank. It's about why they resonate, why they feel like lifelines in a world spinning too fast, why people like you and me keep searching for that one simple rhythm that could change everything. Think about it. The average person wakes up and goes straight into chaos. Notifications, emails, stress, traffic. They don't own their morning, the morning owns them. But morning routine videos paint a different picture. They show us what it looks like to be intentional, to be grounded, to begin the day on purpose. They offer us more than motivation. They offer a mirror, a glimpse into the person we know we could be if we just made a few small changes. That's why they go viral. Because the transformation feels real. Because they don't start with someday. They start with tomorrow morning. And that's where the magic is. These routines don't promise you'll change your life in one day, but they do whisper something far more powerful. You can take control of this one morning, and that morning can change everything. We crave that feeling. We crave the calm, the clarity, the confidence that comes from starting strong. That's why morning routine is more than a buzzword. It's a beacon. It signals to the world, this is how I reset. This is how I get back to myself. And for millions of people, watching those routines gives them hope that they can do it too. In this video, we're going deeper. We're not just explaining why these videos trend. We're uncovering why they speak directly to the human soul. Why we're obsessed with the possibility that we can wake up differently and live differently because of what we choose to do in those sacred first 60 minutes. So, whether you've been trying to build a morning routine yourself or you've just found yourself binge watching video after video wondering, why can't I stop watching this? This message is for you. Because once you understand the real reason these routines rank, you'll realize it has nothing to do with perfection and everything to do with permission. Permission to begin again. Permission to create peace. Permission to become who you were meant to be. One morning at a time. The obsession behind morning routines. Have you ever wondered why morning routine videos dominate YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok? Why do we keep watching strangers make their beds, meditate in silence, sip lemon water, or write in journals over and over again? It's not just curiosity. It's not just aesthetics. It's something deeper. We're obsessed because we're searching for structure in a world that feels scattered, searching for peace in lives that feel pressured, searching for clarity in days that move too fast. Morning routines captivate us because they offer something we deeply crave but rarely experience, a fresh, intentional beginning. Think about it. So many people live in a state of constant reaction. They wake up and immediately check their phones. Emails, news alerts, social media scrolls. They're responding to the world before they've even remembered who they are. It's no wonder anxiety is at an all-time high. It's no wonder we feel behind before we even begin. But then we see someone wake up with purpose. We watch a video where someone lights a candle, breathes deeply, stretches, drinks water, and sets their intentions. And something inside of us says, that's what I want. We're not obsessed with their routine. We're obsessed with what it represents. Discipline, calm, clarity, control, that moment of choice, that sacred pause, that life where you don't wake up into chaos, you wake up into alignment. Morning routines feel like a breath of fresh air in a world choking on urgency. They slow things down. They remind us that before we serve others, chase goals, respond to the noise, we must first center ourselves. It's primal, it's psychological, and it's also deeply spiritual. Morning routines give us a sense of agency, a belief that transformation doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't have to start next year or next month. It can start tomorrow with 5 intentional minutes, with a single choice. And when you see someone do it, it inspires you to believe, if they can create that kind of order and energy, so can I. That's why it ranks. It's not just content. It's a mirror, a reflection of what's possible, a window into a better rhythm of life. And when we're overwhelmed, overstimulated, and overscheduled, these simple habits, waking up with purpose, breathing, hydrating, moving, become revolutionary. That's why viewers can't stop watching, not because they're bored, but because deep down they're ready for change. And it all begins in the morning. Transformation begins in the first hour. Transformation doesn't begin with the big, flashy decisions. It begins with how you show up in the first hour of your day. Your brain, in the moments after waking, is in a unique state. It's operating in theta and alpha brainwave frequencies, which means it's more relaxed, more suggestible, and more open to new information. In simpler terms, your mind is a sponge, and what you soak it in determines the tone for your entire day. So let me ask you, what are you feeding your mind? Because if the first thing you consume is social media, bad news, or chaos from your inbox, you're literally training your mind to begin every day from a place of comparison, urgency, or fear. And here's the truth. Most people don't realize that. They're not aware that they're programming their nervous system before they've even gotten out of bed. They think they're just checking their phone, when in reality, they're handing their energy to the outside world before they've even claimed it for themselves. But when you design a morning routine with intention, everything changes. Even something as small as 5 minutes of silence, breath work, or gratitude journaling begins to shift your mental blueprint. You begin your day with yourself instead of losing yourself. You're no longer reacting, you're leading. And that's why morning routine videos are so magnetic. Because people crave that kind of power, that kind of control, that kind of presence. When you see someone take charge of their first hour, you realize something important. They're not just doing a routine, they're rewriting the script of their life. Because when you win the morning, you start winning the day. It builds confidence, it trains your focus, it sets a standard that echoes into your work, your relationships, your health, your mindset, and the science backs it up. Researchers have found that people who have structured, intentional morning habits report lower stress, higher productivity, and greater emotional resilience. Why? Because they're not starting their day on defense, they're starting it on offense. They've already created calm, moved their body, aligned their mind, before the rest of the world has had a chance to knock them off course. This is why transformation begins in the first hour. It's not about doing what everyone else does, it's about showing up for you before you're asked to show up for the world. And that's why these videos rank, because we don't just want to watch someone's routine. We want to believe we can step into that kind of control, that kind of transformation, starting tomorrow, 1 hour. One habit, one new version of yourself, every single morning. Viewers want structure, but also freedom. Here's a truth that often gets missed. People don't want a rigid robotic schedule when they look for a morning routine. They want something far deeper. They want a rhythm that brings them back to life. The obsession with morning routines isn't about having every minute planned to perfection. It's not about color-coded journals, perfectly aligned yoga mats, or drinking matcha at 6:03 a.m. It's about the feeling that structure brings, stability in a world that feels unstable. We're living in a time where everything is fast, reactive, and unpredictable. Notifications never stop. Schedules are packed. We're overwhelmed and overstimulated. And so, people turn to morning routines not to add more pressure, but to create space. Structure, when chosen intentionally, gives birth to freedom. It creates boundaries around your peace. It gives you permission to slow down before the pace of the world speeds you up. And it allows you to decide how you want to feel, before life decides for you. That's why viewers can't stop watching these routines. They're not looking for another productivity hack. They're looking for something that reminds them, you're allowed to take control, you're allowed to feel good, you're allowed to create your day your way. And here's what's beautiful. Structure doesn't have to be strict. Your morning routine doesn't have to look like anyone else's. You don't need to wake up at 5 a.m. You don't need to journal for 30 minutes. You don't need to follow anyone else's formula. What you do need is consistency. What you need is an anchor, something that centers you, grounds you, reminds you that you are in control. Because when you build structure around your energy, when you protect the first minutes of your day, you show yourself that you matter. That's the real transformation. Viewers love these routines because they give them ideas, but more importantly, they offer permission to reclaim their time, to create something sacred in the chaos, to build a habit that serves their soul, not just their calendar. Morning routines that go viral are the ones that aren't obsessed with perfection. They're obsessed with presence. They make you feel like, I can do that. I can start tomorrow. I can build this for me. And that's why it ranks. Because the structure gives people back their power, and the freedom, it fuels their soul. It's not about copying the routine. It's about creating a rhythm of your own. One that reminds you, you don't have to keep running on empty. You can begin your day full of peace, clarity, and control. It's the first victory of the day, before the emails, before the chaos, before the noise of the outside world grabs hold of your attention. There's a moment, a quiet, sacred space where you get to choose. Will I control this day, or will it control me? That's what the best morning routines are built around. Not perfection, not performance, but power. The kind of power that comes from winning the first battle of the day, showing up for yourself. You see, it's not just about brushing your teeth or stretching or making your bed. It's about what those small actions represent. They're proof that you kept a promise to yourself. And that first win, it matters more than most people realize. Psychologists call this the keystone habit principle. It's the idea that one small intentional habit, done consistently, sets off a chain reaction of other positive behaviors. You drink water, you move your body, you sit in silence, you speak affirmations, and suddenly you feel centered, clear, confident, in motion. That one intentional act creates a psychological domino effect. It's a mental cue to your brain that says, we're not surviving today, we're owning it. And that's why viewers are obsessed with morning routine videos. Because when they watch someone wake up, push through resistance, and still choose discipline over comfort, something clicks. If they can do it, so can I. Because let's be real, it's not easy. It's easier to snooze. It's easier to scroll. It's easier to just get through the day. But that ease, it comes at a cost. When you skip that first victory, you miss the momentum. You spend the rest of the day chasing clarity instead of starting with it. But when you win your morning, even in the smallest way, you start walking differently. You speak with more certainty. You respond with more patience. You lead with more vision. And that feeling of showing up for yourself before anyone else asks you to, that's addictive. Because it proves something life-changing. You are capable of self-leadership. You don't need motivation. You need movement. You don't need to feel ready. You need to decide. And each small consistent morning win, no matter how tiny, proves to your subconscious, I am someone who follows through. That's why viewers keep watching, not to be entertained, but to be reminded. Reminded that transformation isn't one giant leap. It's one tiny victory at a time, starting the moment your eyes open. Own the first win, and the rest of the day starts chasing you. Routine breeds identity. Here's something most people never connect. Your morning routine isn't just shaping your day, it's shaping your identity. Who you are isn't built by what you say you want. It's built by what you repeatedly do. Every morning, whether you realize it or not, you're casting a vote for the person you believe yourself to be. When you snooze your alarm, you're reinforcing the belief, I'm not disciplined. I can't stick to anything. I don't have control. But when you rise, when you hydrate, meditate, move your body, breathe and journal, you begin to tell yourself a different story. You're not just following a morning routine. You're living in alignment with your highest self. And that's why viewers can't stop watching morning routine content. Because it's not just about tips or tactics. It's about watching someone live as the person they said they wanted to become. We're drawn to that. Because deep inside, we know. We're not just craving results. We're craving renewal. A new way to be. A new version of ourselves. An identity doesn't change with one decision. It shifts through repeated action, tiny, consistent behaviors that align with who you want to be. Think about it. A person who meditates every morning doesn't just do meditation. They become a calm person. A person who works out daily isn't just moving their body. They're embodying the identity of someone who prioritizes health. A person who wakes up early to journal isn't just writing. They're becoming someone who leads with clarity. This is why morning routines matter, because you're not just trying to improve your schedule, you're literally transforming your internal self-image. And people feel that when they watch. They see someone owning their life, not in a loud or boastful way, but in the quiet confidence that says, I'm not waiting for change, I'm creating it. And that hits deep, because most people feel stuck, not because they lack motivation, but because they don't trust themselves anymore. They've made promises and broken them too many times. They've set goals and abandoned them. They've lost belief in who they are becoming. But when they see morning routines done with consistency, discipline and care, they realize something powerful. Identity can be rebuilt, one morning at a time. That's what ranks, that's what sticks. Because behind every trending video of someone pouring coffee and reading books is someone becoming unshakable through habit. So next time you wake up, ask yourself, what story am I telling myself through the way I start this day? Because that story, that identity, that version of you is being written right now, and the pen is in your hands. Escape from the noise. There's something deeply sacred about the early morning hours, something that's becoming more rare in today's world, quiet. We live in a digital jungle. A world that's constantly buzzing. Notifications, deadlines, content, comparisons. The noise never stops. Before you even brush your teeth, the world is already shouting at you. That's why viewers are drawn, almost magnetically, to videos about peaceful, intentional mornings. Because these routines offer something we're all starving for, an escape. A moment where we're not being pulled but choosing. A moment where we pause, breathe and listen, not to the world, but to ourselves. And that, right there, is the power of a morning routine. You're not just escaping noise, you're building protection from it. You're creating a space where your thoughts are your own, where your energy hasn't yet been hijacked, where your worth isn't being measured by likes, emails, or expectations. Morning routines are more than a series of steps. They're a fortress, a shield you build before you walk out into the mental battlefield of the day. Because here's the truth, if you don't claim your mind in the morning, someone else will. An ad, a headline, a comment. They'll creep into your head, set the tone for your day, and leave you wondering why you feel scattered, anxious, or behind. But when you wake up, light a candle, sip tea in silence, move your body, or write in a journal, you're doing more than relaxing. You're centering your spirit. You're reminding yourself, I am not what the world says. I am what I choose to believe, create, and become. And people need that. In fact, they're desperate for it. That's why they click morning routine. That's why they watch 10-minute videos of someone watering plants or sitting in meditation. Because it offers a window into a life with breathing room. A life that begins with purpose, not pressure. It's not the routine that matters most. It's the feeling that routine creates. Peace, clarity, autonomy. The morning is your chance to disconnect from the madness and reconnect to your mission. It's your moment to say, before the world demands from me, I'm going to give something to myself. That's not selfish, that's survival, that's self-respect. And the people watching morning routine videos aren't just looking to copy habits. They're looking to reclaim a sense of self, one that's not buried under alerts, noise, and to-do lists. So tomorrow morning, do one thing that brings you back to you. Even if it's just 5 minutes of silence. Even if it's just breathing with intention. Even if it's standing at the window, watching the sun rise. Because that space you create in the quiet, it's not empty, it's where your power returns. Real routines reflect real life. In a world full of filters, edits, and highlight reels, what truly resonates, what truly ranks is authenticity. And when it comes to morning routines, this is the secret ingredient that separates surface-level content from transformational storytelling. You see, people don't just want to see perfect routines, they want to see real routines. They want to watch someone roll out of bed groggy, stumble toward the sink, fight the urge to scroll, and still choose discipline over comfort. They want to see the struggle and the follow-through, because that's relatable, that's human, that's hope in action. The most powerful morning routine videos aren't performed for the camera, they're lived. And that rawness, the kind where someone admits, I didn't want to get up today, but I did anyway, hits deeper than any polished production ever could. Why? Because people don't need to be impressed, they need to be encouraged. When you show your audience that you're not perfect, that you're still growing, that you have hard days but still make time for breathwork, gratitude or movement, you invite them to believe in themselves. Real morning routines reflect real life. Sometimes the meditation is only 3 minutes. Sometimes the journaling is messy. Sometimes the workout is just a walk around the block. But it's done. That's what matters. That's what separates dreamers from doers. And viewers sense that. They know when they're watching a highlight reel, and they know when they're witnessing a commitment in motion. That's why content creators who keep it real, who share both their wins and their messy attempts, build trust. And trust is everything. Because when people trust you, they follow you, they listen, they grow alongside you. So if you're building a morning routine or building content around one, remember this, you don't need to your life. You need to live your truth. You don't need aesthetic perfection. You need alignment. You need honesty. That's what ranks. That's what transforms. Because when someone watches your real routine, it sends a message. You don't need to wait until you're perfect to start. You don't need to wait until you feel ready. You don't need to be anything other than willing. That's powerful. That's rare. That's what inspires action. So as you build your own morning practice or as you share your story, drop the pressure to perform. Instead, show up as you are, imperfect, determined, present. That's the most transformational version of you anyway. Because at the end of the day, authentic consistency will always beat aesthetic perfection. And when people see that, they don't just watch, they change. This isn't a trend, it's a movement, let's be crystal clear. What we're seeing right now is not just a passing trend. It's not a fleeting fascination with planners, green juices, or sunrise workouts. It's a movement, a global shift in consciousness. People are waking up, literally and figuratively, to the fact that how you start your day determines how you live your life. We're in an era where burnout is the norm. Attention spans are collapsing and most people feel disconnected from themselves. But amidst all that noise, a quiet revolution is taking place. And it starts every single morning, in bedrooms, kitchens, living rooms, where someone decides to press pause on the world and press play on their purpose. That's why morning routine videos keep climbing in views, likes and shares. Because they don't just represent productivity, they represent possibility. Possibility that your life can feel different, that you don't have to stay in survival mode, that you can design your reality one small step at a time. This isn't about copying someone else's 5 a.m. playbook. It's about choosing to become the architect of your own mindset. What we're witnessing is a shift from living in reaction to living in creation, and that's powerful. Morning routines give people hope again. Hope that they can reconnect with themselves. Hope that they can build habits that stick. Hope that they can move from overwhelmed to aligned. And guess what? The ripple effect is massive. One person wakes up and chooses stillness instead of stress. That peace influences how they speak to their kids, how they lead at work, how they treat strangers. One small morning change echoes through an entire day and into the lives of others. That's not just habit, that's legacy. It's why the most influential creators don't just show what they do. They embody a lifestyle that says, this is possible for you too. And that's what inspires the masses. Because in a world filled with distractions, the person who chooses focus stands out. In a world obsessed with doing more, the one who chooses presence becomes magnetic. And in a world where most people wait for motivation to strike, the one who shows up every morning with intention, that person becomes unstoppable. So yes, these videos rank, but they don't rank because of clever thumbnails or trendy titles. They rank because they tap into the heartbeat of a generation that's done waiting. Done waiting for permission, done waiting for the right time, done waiting for a miracle. This is a movement of people reclaiming their mornings so they can reclaim their lives. And if you're watching, you're not just an audience, you're part of it. You are the movement. Now that you've seen why these videos rank, why they inspire, captivate and ignite something in millions of people, let's bring it home. This obsession isn't about routines, it's about rebirth. Each morning offers us a quiet, humble opportunity to become someone new. Not someone different, but someone more aligned, more intentional, more self-aware, more rooted in purpose. The most powerful thing about a morning routine isn't what you do. It's what you stop allowing. You stop letting the world dictate your mood. You stop letting anxiety be your alarm clock. You stop living on autopilot. Instead, you choose stillness over stress, discipline over delay, growth over stagnation. That's why these routines resonate so deeply. They're simple, yes, but they're sacred. They prove to you that transformation doesn't come from grand declarations. It comes from repeating small acts of self-respect daily. And here's the truth that most people miss. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, no matter how small, you rebuild your trust in you. That's why showing up matters. That's why rising with intention, breathing before reacting, journaling before scrolling. It's not just a routine. It's a revolution in the way you think, feel, and live. You're not chasing someone else's highlight reel. You're creating your own rhythm. A rhythm that matches your season, your spirit, and your story. So no, morning routines aren't just for entrepreneurs or wellness influencers. They're for anyone who's ready to stop reacting and start leading their life. Anyone who's tired of waiting until Monday, until next month, until someday to start feeling better. Because here's the secret. You don't need to wake up perfect. You just need to wake up present. That's the message these videos deliver. That's why they keep trending. Because people want change and they're finally realizing that change, it doesn't begin in the spotlight. It begins in the shadows of early morning when no one's watching, but your soul is listening. And if you've made it to the end of this video, this is your moment to decide. Are you going to keep watching transformation, or are you going to live it? Are you going to keep borrowing motivation from others, or will you start generating it from within? Tomorrow morning when your alarm goes off, remember this. You are not weak for being tired. You are not behind because you've stumbled. You are human and you are ready. One breath, one journal entry, one slow, silent cup of tea. That's all it takes to remind yourself you are the author of your life. And every sunrise is a fresh page. So write something powerful, write something real, write something that makes your future self proud. It starts now. It starts with you. It starts tomorrow morning.